All right, we're back with a whole new season of The Wire. And just like last season, they changed the theme song. So this one seems like it's kind of maybe R&B, type. But definitely, they're each season it's the same song, but just a different style or a different artist recording it. This one seemed all right. Again, I like the first season the most. We'll see if the next two seasons do anything for me. But again, it does reflect that each season we're exploring a different part of the city. And so it makes sense that the theme song kind of reflects that. But today we're looking at the first episode of season 3, Time After Time. Now, this season, just like last season, was kind of focused on the stevedores. This one looks like, I think it's going to be focused on like the politics, like city council and the mayor's office. We've got some new characters. Number one among them is, I think his name is Carcetti, but he's Littlefinger from Game of Thrones. Although technically this came first. He looks really young here, so maybe Littlefinger is actually Carcetti, but he is a city councilman, I believe. And he is particularly concerned about the rising tide of violence in Baltimore. So there have been a lot of murders lately. In fact, there's like 5 in one night, which is crazy even for Baltimore apparently. And they're worried because as the crime rises, people move out from the city and they lose their tax base. It's financially motivated. Again, it all comes down to money. But we're seeing the effects of, the drug trade and these gang wars and how it affects, every facet of the city. It's gone all the way up to the politics, which I hope that they'll explore this season that one state senator was involved with helping the Barksdale crew rise, and giving them that information about, making the land deal when they were going to build those new buildings there. So I'm hoping that plot point comes back and that they'll realize that, oh no, our politicians are actually involved in all these problems. But we'll see. And speaking of land development, this episode opens with the towers coming down. They demolished the building. They're going to build some affordable houses there. And again, we're seeing that, I don't know if this was what they're trying to do, but it seemed like they were trying to like gentrify the area. We saw that happen last season when Nick was trying to buy a home with his girlfriend in the old neighborhood. All those houses are now too expensive for them to afford. So I think maybe they're trying to clean up Baltimore. But this leaves the Barksdale crew in an interesting spot because that was their main center that they sold out of. And so now they had to find new territory to sell. But Stringer proposes that they sell, drugs on all the street corners, just working with whatever crews are already there. And it's actually pretty funny. They have this whole Robert's Rules of Order system in their meetings. Again, Stringer's always trying to be professional. But then when Poot, raises his hand and says we're gonna look like bitches out there, right? Stringer loses his mind and yells at him and stuff. And even the dude, his second in command or whatever, is like, "Hey, he had the floor. It's fine." But I think we're seeing that even though Stringer tries to present himself as this businessman, at his heart, he is still part of the street. So that's going to be a conflict with his character. I think is he wants to be professional, but this is still the drug trade, and he's not going to be able to do everything he wants to do. But besides that, we've got, like I said, some new characters coming out. There's this guy who comes out of prison. He was doing a 14-year sentence, and he just got released. His name is Cuddy. And apparently he's going to work for Avon. Avon gives him a package as a coming home present. And he sells it to this other drug dealer who then kind of rips him off. He basically is lying that the police stole his drugs so he can just keep it for himself. So I'm thinking that that's going to be a problem because this guy seemed like, a tough guy. He was trying to, stay away from crime because he just got out of prison. He doesn't want to go back. But because Avon had so much respect for him, I'm thinking that this guy is serious business. So he might, teach this guy a lesson not to mess with him. But we'll see where that goes. Beyond just that, I knew it. I called it last season. They had this commander. I don't know what the rank is, but he's in charge of a whole district, the Western District, where Herc and Carver are now at, because they got pissed off being on Daniel's team. I said last video that I think this guy's going to be a character. He just, I don't know, it focused on him in a weird way where I was like, oh, okay, I think this guy's permanent. And he's back. He looks like he's going to be a main character this season. Like I said, he's in command of the Western District, where Herc and Carver are at. And he seems like a different kind of cop, kind of more like Daniels. Like, actually cares about doing the right thing. Doesn't want to just, push buttons. He wants to actually make a difference in the community. So we'll see where that goes. I can tell there's going to be conflict between all the political stuff happening. Because Carcetti makes a big deal out of the rising crime rate, like I said. And so because of that, the mayor is now pressuring Burrell's to pressure his commanders to make sure that the crime level stays down. So they tell him that they want the crime everywhere down like 5%. And they don't care how it gets done. They just want it to get done. And it's cool. I think that... what's his name? The asshole boss from the first season, who was, who hated McNulty. I think he's now he took Burrell's position. So, again, we're seeing all these people change jobs and move up and move down and stuff like that. But kind of throwing a wrench into this whole thing is, Daniels was promised a major position. But because his wife is apparently running for city council, the mayor is kind of hesitant because he doesn't know what his wife's going to do yet. And again, I love how they weave all these characters into all these different parts of the city. Like last season, McNulty's ex-wife was the realtor. And so, again, we're seeing that everyone has a connection here. But we're seeing Daniels is having some, personal life problems. He's not sleeping in his house with his wife. He's just doing that for appearances because of the campaign. But they're having problems. But the last major thing I'll touch on here, I know I'm running out of time, is the unit has been trying to get at Prop Joe for a while. He and Stringer are the new targets, but they're not getting anywhere. They try this move where they arrest some guy and they hope that this other guy will get promoted, but it doesn't work. So they're at a loss of, how to proceed. It looks like they're not going to make a case against either of these guys. And McNulty really wants Stringer. He lost him in the first season, and he really wants to get at him now. So at the end of the episode, he's reviewing all the old evidence, and he's looking at pictures of Wallace and D'Angelo. So I'm wondering if that's going to be the way he's going to get to Stringer. And it would be kind of ironic that maybe D'Angelo's death somehow causes problems for Stringer, where it leads information back to him or something. And it would be like he caused his own downfall. So I'm wondering if that's the way they'll go. But it's the beginning of a new season. I'm hooked again. Last season felt a little different, but this one feels like it's kind of a return to form. We're back following the drug trade. All the key characters are in place. And so I think this season is going to be a good one. I look forward to exploring more episodes with you soon. Thanks. All right, we're back with another episode. Today we're looking at the second episode of season 3, All Due Respect. Now, of course, that's the same as the title of the season 5 finale of The Sopranos, which they actually both came out the same year. I just looked it up. So that's pretty funny. They both ended up naming an episode after that. But in this episode, a number of things happen. So the episode opens with this dog fight that Cheese goes to. He has a pit bull, and they're fighting and betting on the dogs. And his dog dies, or loses and gets very injured. And I think it's implied that the other side cheated, although I'm not sure how it was. Like, they were rubbing something on the dog maybe it was like grease or something to make it more slippery, or not sure how that works. I don't know anything about dog fighting, but he has to kill the dog, and he's pretty torn up about this because he actually liked the dog, and so now they decide to go get revenge, and they kill the guy who like cheated or whatever, and this results in a bunch of bodies, and the police think that a gang war is breaking out, which, to be fair, I mean, a lot of bodies have been dropping recently. That's why, last episode they told everyone to get crime lower. But because of this, the police decide to blow their wire. They're going to bring Cheese in, and they're hoping that they can grill him because he talked on the phone about his dog, killing his dog. And they think it's like a nickname or whatever for one of his friends, but he's actually talking about a dog. So when they bring him in, they're not able to charge him with anything, and so they wasted their wire, which really pisses off McNulty. Because, he wanted to go after Stringer Bell. And, McNulty's usually right. I've learned to, just go with him. Except when it comes to relationships. He's usually a fuck up there. And so now they're kind of left wondering, what to do now. Because even though they ended up kind of helping out stop this potential, blood spread, they did not end up getting their target, which is what their unit is supposed to be doing, is going after these high-level drug dealers like Prop Joe or Stringer Bell. So we'll see where they go after this, but it's definitely going to be an uphill battle now that they lost their wire. Beyond just that, we've got some things going on in the Western District. We've got Herc and Carver, being their usual dumbass selves. They kind of spend this episode just making stupid jokes or whatever. But then at the end there, one of their cops gets shot while being undercover, which I was a little confused why it didn't raise more of a response. I guess because the guy didn't die, but remember when Kima got shot in season 1, they shut down the whole city and they were like going after these people. You'd think that with this cop getting shot, it'd be more of a big deal, but I don't know, maybe it's just the different districts have a different policy or something. And because of that, Bunny Colvin, the guy in charge of Western, he decides that they need to stop going after drugs. I think that's what he meant by the end. He has a story about how people can drink on the streets as long as they put it in a paper bag. And so he was implying that they're going to do the same thing with drugs. As long as people are not doing it out in the open and it's not violent, they're going to leave, the drug dealers alone and not make the hand-to-hand busts. So we'll see where that goes. I think, it does sound like a smart move because as we've seen this whole series and just, in life, the war on drugs really can't be won. People are going to do what they're going to do. If you go after it, just like alcohol, if you go through prohibition, it's just making a lot more money for these drug dealers. Of course, he can't legalize it or whatever. He doesn't have power to do that. But I do think they're wasting a lot of effort on these buy busts and not making any real progress. Guys like McNulty and are making more progress, but even still, it's kind of implied it's a hopeless battle. Even if they got, Stringer Bell, someone else is just going to step up to deal the drugs. It's not like they're ever going to really stop it. But we'll see, especially because this season we've got, like I said, more of a focus on politics. So Carcetti, who's a city councilman, he finally convinces Burrells to work with him, and he's able to get Burrells more resources for his, police department. And he says that, he's just doing it because he's bored and he wants to make a difference and save Baltimore. But I don't know, maybe it's just because he played Littlefinger, but I kind of feel like there's like this guy has higher ambitions than that. Like he's scheming and working towards it. Again, maybe that's just because that's kind of the characters he plays, but and I've seen characters he's played since then. So maybe he got that kind of reputation from this role. Maybe that's what started it. But I have a feeling that he's playing a much deeper game than Burrells realizes. But we'll see where they go with that. Beyond just that, we got Omar back again. He's ripping off the Barksdale crew again. And Stringer Bell we'll see what he does, because I don't know. He's been kind of ambivalent of how he deals with Omar. Like at one point he wants to kill him, and at another point he wants to work with him, but neither of those things really worked out. So we'll see where they go. But Omar's out there, and especially since Stringer, put brother Muzone onto him, he's wanted revenge. So I think he's going to go after him pretty hard. The only other major things I saw in this episode were also relationship stuff. So one, the lawyer lady Perlman, I think, is that her name? Rhonda Perlman. She has started hooking up with Daniels. Of course, we saw last season and this season that he's separated from his wife. He's living in this shitty apartment, but they've kind of started a relationship. I think she got tired of waiting for McNulty. I mean, he's just point blank told her, it's like, I want to be with my wife, not you. So she's hooking up with him now. I'm wondering if this is ever going to come to a head, the fact that she's constantly like sleeping with policemen. Is that ever going to be a problem for her career? I don't know in real life how that works, but I don't know. I got to imagine that, in the Justice Department, they might frown on that or something, but who knows? We'll see. But the other interesting thing is Kima. So as we've been kind of exploring, she now has a baby. So the baby was born. I'm not sure if the baby was in another episode, I missed it, or this is the first appearance, but her wife, girlfriend, whatever they are, they had a baby. And Kima is not super happy about this. She doesn't really like domestic life. And at the end of the episode, she's going to a bar and she's kind of like making eyes with another woman. So it's implied that she might, sleep with this girl. And it'd be sad to see, her relationship fall apart. But I think that is the real conflict with her character, is that she yearns for action and excitement, and she's not really made to be like a domestic housewife or anything like that. Even though I think her, partner is the one actually staying at home, but even still, she doesn't want to be there. She wants to be on the streets. So we'll see where that goes, but I see some trouble on the horizon for her in her personal life. But that is pretty much the episode, and I can't wait to watch the next one soon. Talk to you then. What is up, Wire fans? Kino here, and we are back with another episode. Today we're looking at Season 3, Episode 3, Dead Soldiers. Now, because last episode they kind of blew their wiretap on Prop Joe's people chasing down Cheese for killing his dog. They didn't realize it was, a dog. The details forced to kind of move on. They don't have any real evidence there. And there's a new target, a kind of a low-level drug dealer who's dropping bodies. And again, as we saw last episode, or this whole season, basically, the mayor and the police commissioner really want murders down. So they have a new prerogative, and of course, McNulty's not happy because he's obsessed with Stringer Bell, and he wants to get Stringer. And Kima, too, is they're kind of a kindred pair. There's even a great scene of them kind of bonding. They're drinking, like he used to with Bunk. And they're just kind of complaining about their lives. Again, Kima's not really happy with her, domestic situation right now. I apologize if you hear some noise right there. My microphone's near my computer. I gotta kind of find a better spot for all this, but Kima's not super happy about the fact that she's got this domestic responsibility now. She wants to be out there, kicking ass, basically. So it was cool to see her and McNulty bond like that. But besides that, we have more going on with the political side of things. So Carcetti had this really cool plan. So he got the information that the mayor was delaying police academy training, and he leaked that to the media, and he directed them to Brells, so that basically the mayor would see this news article and be forced to give in. So it's kind of, again, I keep comparing him to Littlefinger, but I know this character came first. Very scheming guy who's got all the plans figured out here, and it works. They ended up giving the police their academy training, although the mayor makes Burrells take the hit, in the newspapers, and this kind of saves him because the mayor thinks he's loyal, even though he's kind of going behind the mayor's back. But again, we're seeing all this like back and forth political stuff. And again, Carcetti seems like a really interesting guy. Again, kind of a scumbag. It seems like he's cheating on his wife this episode. But, that's just how it goes with these, shitty politicians. But at least they're entertaining to watch on the show. So I'm wondering where his, political plans are going to end up. I think he's got some really high ambitions. I think he's kind of using Burrells to get what he wants. I wonder if he wants to be mayor. I know the mayor said before that, a white guy could never, become a mayor of Baltimore because it's a predominantly black city. But maybe he has, his sights on the throne. We'll see where that goes, but he's definitely smart. Beyond just that, we've got some more interesting stuff with Omar. So again, they're ripping off drug dealers, and even his kind of crew, his boyfriend and two girls that they recruited. They're like, why do we got to keep robbing, Avon Barksdale? The Barksdale crew's getting very paranoid, and they've got a lot of like guys watching the houses now. And they're like, why don't we just go rob someone else? But, of course it's personal with, Omar. He, is pissed off at Stringer for all the shit he did. He wants to keep robbing them. And unfortunately, though, this time something goes wrong. There's a shootout, and one of the girls gets killed in the shootout. And, Omar's torn up about this because he feels responsibility. He's a good guy, even though the fact he's, robs drug dealers. So this kind of tore him up, and we'll see where he goes this season as a result of that. I think, is he going to double down and keep going after revenge? Or is this the wake-up call for him that, like, the person who seeks revenge better dig two graves, because it always comes back to hurt you in the end. But it's pretty interesting that, Bunk gets sent to investigate the murder of this girl. And when he's there, he sees these kids playing a game, and one of them's like playing Omar. He's like, I want to be Omar now. I want to be Omar. So it's cool that like Omar is like a living legend in this community. And I'm wondering if Bunk will, realize it was him. I think he did realize that Omar was involved in this. So I'm wondering if he'll go after Omar, or if, he'll just chalk it off to like, drug dealers killing, other criminals and just write it off. Another sad thing that happened was Ray Cole died, who has been a background character for these past two seasons, but it was cool to see that funeral scene, or I guess it's a wake, whatever you call it, where they're kind of at the bar celebrating Ray Cole. The fucking body's right there on the pool table, which I was like, can you get that? Can you... I don't know if you can get the body from the morgue and just bring it wherever you want, but I don't know. But that was a really heartwarming scene where they're all gathered together, and they know that, like, they're not perfect. It's not this, like, Law and Order type, family where they're, like, these amazing cops who are doing great work. They know they're doing shit work, but they're just, like, he had his moments. He was an average cop, but he had his moments. And that's, I don't know, it's really heartwarming to see them all come together like that and sing and drink and puke and all that stuff. So I did feel something for even this background character who I probably wouldn't have even remembered other than this. But that's pretty much the main things happening in this episode. The other thing is Marlowe has his guy Fruit, stupid name, go beat up the Barksdale crew for being on their corners. They're actually starting to push back against them. So we're seeing some escalation here. I'm wondering how Stringer is going to handle this. I don't know. Stringer has always been, kind of a weird case for me. He's like not wanting to go too far, but also, is willing to kill people mercilessly. So I kind of don't get what his overall plan is right now, but maybe it'll reveal itself to me later. But speaking of that too, McNulty figured out that D'Angelo's murder or suicide was actually a murder. So I'm wondering if this is going to be the key that brings down Stringer. I feel like I said that last episode. But I think that he's going to maybe be able to connect the dots, although I'm wondering how they'll know who did it specifically, because it was kind of a low-key thing. He went like outside of his network, so I don't know. We'll see. But that is the episode Dead Soldiers, and we'll check out the next one soon. Thanks a lot. All right, we're back with another episode. Today we're looking at Season 3, Episode 4, Hamsterdam. And so the title refers to the idea that Bunny Colvin has, which is he's going to basically push all the drug dealers to only deal within this uninhabited block. It's all abandoned houses. And the idea here is that if they agree to deal only there, the police won't mess with them. They'll be free to do their business, and it will keep all the violence and street crime away from the normal citizens of West Baltimore. So it's an interesting idea. I'm wondering how it will turn out. The drug dealers are very hesitant to move, obviously, but I think that Colvin is pretty determined to go through with this. He brings all the kids, which is what they are. They're kids, high school age or whatever. And he brings them all to this auditorium. And he's trying to tell them about the plan, but they're not listening. They're being rowdy. And then this principal comes in and she's just like, hey, shut up. And then they all just are like, they know not to mess with her. So cool side character there. But I'm wondering if she'll actually come back, because I don't know. Again, I like when characters come in and then later on they're brought back again. And this lady just like commanded respect. So I don't know. We'll see if she comes back. But Bunny's plan is an interesting one, and I'm curious to see if it'll work out. Like I said, he seems pretty determined, so I think he will manage to get them all there. It's just a matter of like, will it work out for the best or will it not? So that's one, subplot happening this episode. Another is with Carcetti. So we do learn that he has a deeper plan in motion, and he actually wants to run for mayor of Baltimore, which, again, everyone is discounting him for the fact that, he's white and Baltimore is predominantly black, and so they don't think he has a chance. But he's determined, and again, maybe it's just because he's Littlefinger to me, but I kind of think he's got like, a real plan in place where it's like he knows how to take down these guys. He knows how to scheme and get what he wants. So I don't know. I think he could win. And he has this campaign manager who's gonna help him, or at least I think she is. But he'll have a tough battle. But again, I think he's setting the pieces in motion. Like he's got Burrell's working with him, kinda. He's got, he's attending all these meetings. He might be working with Daniels' wife or ex-wife, whatever they are now. They're still on paper together, but of course he's with Perlman now, which we'll talk about. But it looks like he might be making a connection there. So I think Carcetti has definitely got some schemes in motion here, and we'll see how it turns out if he runs for mayor. But beyond just that, of course, we've got some stuff going on with McNulty this episode. He learns kind of the consequences of his behavior in this episode. He's always been someone who burns bridges. He doesn't care about people. He just wants what he wants. He has his target, which is Stringer Bell, and he doesn't give a shit about anything other than that. He doesn't give a shit about loyalty. He'll use anyone to get what he wants. And Freeman calls him out on it. They almost get into a fight, but it looks like him and Kima are still on Stringer Bell. And because of that, obsession that he has, he's driven all the people close to him away. His ex-wife doesn't want to be with him anymore. Now Perlman is with Daniels. They've hooked up together. They're together now. And so at the end of the episode, when he's at the bar and he's about to dial someone to come pick him up, I think because he's drunk, he realizes there's no one left. Maybe still Bunk, but Bunk's Bunk, and he's hurt Bunk too a little bit. He used him with the Omar thing in the past, so Again, he's realizing that he doesn't really have anyone he can really rely on. Maybe Kima still. They seem like they're really starting to bond, but yeah, I hope he learns the error of his ways and realizes that he needs, all these people because they're good police. Like he thought he was, ahead of the game with Stringer. He found his phone number and everything, but these guys had already found it. And so they learn in this episode that Stringer is going legit. Basically, all that property they bought up in season 1, he's developing it and he's gonna, turn a major profit on there, probably in the hundreds of millions of dollars. When you're talking about, all this land. Yeah, that's his overall goal. And, the police are in on it, but again, there's no necessary crime here that they're investigating. So they need a real lead if they want to get, actual police resources in on this. So we'll see if that ends up happening. But I kind of think it will because, again, Stringer's an evil motherfucker. They're not just going to let him go. So I think that will come to a head. Now, Avon is getting released. So we saw that Perlman tried to get his parole, not accepted, but it was. So Avon is coming out pretty soon here, maybe next episode. So we'll see what happens when he comes back in because, he and Stringer really disagree on like Avon's much more about, the street crime and, territory and all of that. And Stringer's a businessman. And it seemed like there was some conflict brewing between the two. So I think once Avon comes back and is like, I'm in charge, I think there will be some major problems there. But we'll see. Beyond just that, we've got Cuddy, who decides to go back into the drug trade. He tried to make an honest living, but he saw that, this is going to be his life, basically just making chump change, mowing lawns, stuff like that. He tried to get back with his ex-girlfriend or ex-wife. I don't know what she was. She didn't want him. So he realizes that, a civilian life is not anything for him. So he's going to go back to the drug trade. And at the end of the episode, he goes to his party, he's doing drugs, he's drinking, he has sex. And I think, good for him for getting laid, but I think this is a bad thing that's happening to him. I think he's going to come to regret it just because, I don't know, the tone of that party was not, that didn't look like a fun party. That looked like bad things are happening at this party. Everyone's fucked up on drugs. They're kind of, I don't know. It just didn't seem like a happy environment. This is him going into the darkness kind of thing. So I'm worried about Cuddy because he seemed like he was trying to be a good guy. But yeah, I think he's going down a dark road and I think it's going to cost him in the end. But the other major thing happening is so Bubs is working for Kima again. He's getting her information and she's starting to investigate this guy Marlowe, who again, we've seen him in a couple episodes before this. He drove the Barksdale crew out of his territory, and apparently he's a really evil guy. He's a killer, and so again, there seemed to be something up with this guy. He seemed to have some importance this season. I think he might be a major player. They think he's working for Stringer Bell, which is not true because he drove the Barksdale crew off. I don't know if he works for Prop Joe or if he's his own independent guy. But yeah, he seems like he's going to be, someone you don't want to mess with. So again, we're always adding new characters to the mix, which I really love. There's always someone new coming on. People are getting killed. And so you never know what's going to happen in Baltimore, basically. So yeah, that is pretty much the episode. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll check out the next one soon. All right, and we're back with another episode of The Wire. Today we're looking at Season 3, Episode 5, Straight and True. Now, in this episode, they finally succeed in getting the drug dealers to all go to their abandoned street. They call it Hamsterdam. He does this by rounding up all the mid-level dealers, the lieutenants, guys like Bodie and other mid-level guys like that. He has this great line about middle management where he says, you have just enough power where you have to listen to people, but not enough where you can tell them to go fuck themselves, which is a really funny line. But yeah, Colvin manages to pull his project together, and it's really funny seeing the police, you know, actually helping the drug dealers. Like they get, actual, druggies, and then they move them over to there so they have customers and stuff. So the police are actually really helping them out, which is pretty surprising to see. But again, his long-term plan is to get rid of crime in the normal neighborhoods and just keep it contained in this one spot. So hopefully that'll work and it won't like backfire on him. But again, knowing this show, knowing The Wire, things don't usually work out the way they're planned. So we'll see where that goes. But that's the first major storyline happening this episode. The other is with McNulty. He's continuing to investigate Stringer Bell, and he finally just goes up to him straight up and says, like, what's going on with you? And Stringer reveals that he's now mostly legitimate. He still is involved with drugs, which we'll see later in the episode, but he's more high level and he's not touching anything illegal. So it's going to be basically impossible for them to catch him right now. McNulty's disappointed that he has to basically just let Stringer go. Although at the end they do see him interacting with Marlo, which we'll touch on for a bit. But for now, McNulty is working with their crew. I think that the target was this other like very small level guy, but I think at the end there, when he sees Stringer with Marlo, that this might lead them to actually start investigating him again. But we'll see where that goes. As it ended, it wasn't clear who they were going to go after. But speaking of McNulty too, again, I love how all the characters kind of cross over and meet each other, even though they're involved with different worlds. So McNulty runs into, I don't remember her name, but she's the campaign manager for Carcetti. They're at this fundraiser or something for a school. And again, McNulty's magic power is he can make any woman basically sleep with him. And so they have a one-night stand, but then she immediately kind of kicks him out because she has to go right back to work. Classic, really busy businesswoman, or in this case, political, organizer woman. So, she's all about, the work. And McNulty was just a fun distraction, but now she wants him gone. So, kind of very different than Perlman, who he is normally used to. But I'm hoping that maybe we'll see some more interactions there, because I love it when the different storylines cross over and we have characters meeting with each other like this. But beyond just that, we've got some other things going on. Like I said, Stringer is now mostly legitimate, but he still has a connection to the drug world in the sense that he's organizing all the drug dealers to basically be one crew. They're all going to buy one package and they're all going to distribute it together, and they're going to avoid bloodshed. And this is his way of, making more money. They don't have to worry about the violence, and most of the drug dealers are on board. The one who's not is Marlo. And I'm thinking now he's not with Prop Joe. I thought for a little while he was, but he's an independent party. He's up and coming. And again, it seems like he's more violent, more violently oriented. There's a scene where they're trying to bring him down with the other drug dealers, and he refuses. And it looks like he might even, attack these cops who are Herc and Carver, who are trying to bring him down. But luckily they backed off. But again, yeah, Marlo just seems like a different kind of, drug dealer than, Stringer or Avon is used to dealing with. So he might be a wrench in their plan, but for now, everything's going their way. They have all the money, they have all the land, they're going legit, they can finally put things in their own name. Even Avon, and Avon is released from prison in this episode. It's been about 2 years since he went in. He's finally out again. And I'm sensing that even though he's happy, like that he's got all this money and this, legitimate power, but I think he's a little bit bored by it. It seemed like, he was talking with the lawyer and the businessman and the senator again, it seems weird to me that the senator is just like openly fraternizing with these known drug dealers, but I know they're going legit, but I still think as a politician, wouldn't you not want to be seen in this environment? But I don't know. Maybe he's just greedy and he wants money. But um, Avon is talking with them, and it seems like he's really bored by like their conversations about business and going legit. He just wants to get some tail and focus on the street. So I think he is going to run into conflict with String, who's kind of stepped up and really taken control of the organization and pushed it to this point where it's mostly legit now. So we'll see where that goes, but I could see conflict on the horizon between Avon and Stringer. But those are the major plot beats happening in this episode. There's some other stuff, Bubs is still working as an undercover informant, and his partner, doesn't want to snitch. We'll see where that goes. They've been bringing it up, a lot lately, and it just seems like they've got two different priorities. So I'm wondering if Bubs, at the beginning too, Bubs was really disgusted when they had this scam. They were running this low-level scam on this guy, and he just left afterwards. So I think Bubs wants something more than just being a drug addict and being a scam artist. We saw that when he tried to get clean, and unfortunately it was the police that kind of pushed him back into drugs. But it seems like Bubs wants more out of life than this. So I'm hoping he'll get it because he's a nice guy, but drugs are really hard to beat. But those are the major things happening in this episode. A pretty good one, and can't wait to check out the next one soon. Thanks. All right, we are back with another episode of The Wire. Today we're looking at Season 3, Episode 6, Homecoming. Now, of course, this title refers primarily to Avon, who was just released from prison previously, and now he's kind of getting back into the swing of things with the drug organization, and he's really kind of butting heads against Stringer, who Stringer wants to, again, like he's always wanted to. He wants to be a legitimate businessman. They have their whole project where they're renovating downtown properties that they own, and he wants to go legit and not, expose himself to any kind of risk. But Avon, is really all about the street. He really doesn't have any time or patience for negotiating or doing all this stuff. All he knows is how to deal with things forcibly. And so when he learns that Marlowe has kind of taken some territory from them, he decides he wants to go and get it back. Even though it does make more sense to do things peacefully. He decides he needs the respect. He needs the authority. And so they try to hit some of Marlowe's guys, but they fuck it up. They end up getting some of their guys killed, and they end up looking pretty weak. And again, he sends Cuddy to go kill some of their guys, but Cuddy kind of realizes that he doesn't have the game in him anymore. He's kind of moved on past all of this, killing and murder and stuff. He doesn't want to be a part of that anymore. And so he decides to walk away, and he's just not going to be a part of this. So I'm glad to see that he, kind of realized that before things went too far. Although we'll see if maybe, maybe they decided to get rid of him just like they got rid of D'Angelo, who we're going to talk about in a bit here. But it was even though Fruit was the one who ripped him off with the package, he kind of treated him like shit. He was still not willing to shoot him, or at least he couldn't bring himself to kill him. So again, we're seeing that Cuddy still has a heart. But that's one aspect of the story going on right now. I just mentioned D'Angelo. So his mother is talking to D'Angelo's ex-girlfriend or wife, whatever she was, the widow of him. And she tells her that she's seeing String now, which the mother's okay with. But the girl reveals that McNulty told her that D'Angelo's death was not a suicide, and that kind of rattles her a little bit. So I think she's going to start to suspect that String had a part in D'Angelo's death, and that might be the conflict this season for what's going to kind of tear the Barksdale crew apart. So I'm really thinking that's going to come back to bite Stringer on the ass. I've been saying that for a number of episodes here, but I think Dee's going to have his kind of indirect revenge against Stringer. But beyond just that, we have the police, who we've not been focusing too much on any of the other guys besides McNulty and Kima, who they've been trying to push the detail to go after Stringer. They realized last episode that he's still involved with the drug trade. They saw him talk with Marlowe, and they thought that Marlowe was working for him, but Bubs reveals that they're actually at war with each other. Although Daniels is not, he's pissed off that they keep going behind his back, and he tells him to respect his decision, but of course they don't. They go behind him and they go talk to Bunny Colvin, who's having his own problems this episode, and they tell him that Stringer's the main person they need to go after. So Colvin goes to Burrell's and Rawls, and so at the end of the episode, they kind of spring it on him that they're gonna basically force him to go after Stringer Bell. So it is. I mean, again, we're kind of just repeating the same thing that keeps happening, which is that McNulty constantly goes around people's backs. He kind of, fucks over any kind of relationship he has with these people in order to do what he thinks is the right thing. Again, he's good police, but he's like a bad, friend or colleague. But it will be good to see them actually go after the main target, the one who really matters, Stringer Bell. But beyond just that, beyond the problems that Bunny is having with the drug war going on in his territory, his Hamsterdam project is really starting to work out. It's cleaned up the streets, aside from the ones where they're allowed to do their dealing. But the one problem is there's one woman still living there that he wasn't aware of. And so she's stuck in the middle of all of this drug dealing. And she doesn't want to move out. That's her house. She doesn't want to leave it. So he goes and he kind of lies and says that she's a drug witness, so they can kind of get her in witness protection and get her moved into this new house that the city owns. So we'll see if he gets her out of there, but I'm wondering if, something bad might happen to this woman, and then his whole Hamsterdam project might come tumbling down. So we'll see where that goes. But those are the main things happening in this episode. We have a great scene with Bunk and Omar, where Bunk kind of tells him straight up that it's not a victimless crime what Omar's doing. The violence is just kind of perpetuating this cycle, this downward trend for their neighborhood. And it's kind of, bringing destruction to everyone. So I think Omar's feeling a little bit of shame. He already felt shame for Tasha being killed. And now he's starting to feel shame for, even though he's always been it's part of the game. He's realizing that, his actions still have consequences, and Bunk, just being real with him about that. But beyond just that, we have more stuff going on with politics. Again, we learned that Carcetti is planning on running for mayor, and he has this scene with his I think city councilman, where he was kind of encouraging him to run for mayor too. He was saying that only a black man can win in Baltimore. But his real plan was to have two black men running. He has his councilman, and then he has the actual mayor. And so he's planning on splitting the black vote, which will allow him to kind of swoop in and get the position. Again, very Littlefinger, very scheming, and kind of a betrayal, because it seems like these two guys are friends. But it seems like he's kind of using him for his own interests. So again, I'm thinking this guy is kind of a conniving scumbag type of politician. But I don't know. I think he's gonna get it, just because he seems like he's thinking 20 moves ahead all the time, using whatever information he can to get ahead. So just knowing that's his character, I think he's got a pretty good chance of beating the mayor, who again is getting beat up over these crime issues. He was threatening Burrell's, if Burrell's doesn't get the murder down, he's going to fire him. And again, I think that's going to push Burrell's to support Carcetti. So I think it's going to turn out well for him, at least in terms of the election. We'll see how it goes. But speaking of politics, again, I keep thinking of these details.
we have Daniels' wife running for city council. She's not running against Carcetti or anything. She's running against someone else we haven't seen yet. But she's still with Cedric for appearances. They're not together, but they're in public. They act like husband and wife. And she was kind of suggesting she wanted to get back together with him. He says not right now, but he'll think about it. And then when he's telling Perlman, he has to stick by his wife. Again, it reminded me of Perlman's relationship with McNulty, where they're sleeping together, but he still wanted to get back with his wife. So I'm wondering if she'll get dumped again for a guy who wants to go back to his wife. And that's kind of what she gets for sleeping with married men. I know they're separated, but still, she has this pattern of getting with men who are kind of unavailable to her fully. So we'll see where this goes with their relationship. But excuse me, that is pretty much everything for this episode, and stay tuned for the next one. Thanks.
What is up, Wire fans? Kino here, and we are back with another episode. Today we're looking at the 7th episode of Season 3, Backburners. And the title, of course, refers to the burner phones that they're using, which is a big part of this episode. But before we get too much into the actual plot of the episode, I just wanted to talk about a theme that I noticed kind of in this episode, but also in the whole series, which is that a lot of these things that the police are doing and the drug dealers are doing, it's not this like perfect kind of top-down system where everyone's all on the same page and they're all working towards the same goal. There's so many things that are happening which are just random mistakes that occur. Like, there's a scene where McNulty and crew are watching Bodhi, and then they leave to go get a drink. And right as they leave, Avon shows up, and they just barely miss him. And besides just that, there's more things like they have this guy who is sent to go buy burner phones, and he's only supposed to buy 2 at a time. And so the trip takes a really long time. And throughout the episode, his girlfriend is with him, and she's constantly being like, you should just buy them all at once so we can go to dinner, blah, 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 whatever. She's like nagging him. And so finally, she convinces him to go buy all of them at once. And I think that's going to be an issue later. I think they wanted him to buy it in multiple places to not maybe attract attention, or they're going to be able to wire all the phones because they all came from the same spot. So basically, what I wanted to bring up was it's not like this perfect like organization, like just like real life. People at all the different levels are making mistakes. Like the cops weren't even aware that Avon had got released. They weren't aware of what's going on in Hamsterdam. So it's disorganized, and there's a lot of disinformation and stuff out there. And I think that's really realistic. I think too often in media, we often portray criminal organizations or the police or whatever as like this all-encompassing body which knows everything. But in reality, people make mistakes. They have competing agendas, and we're seeing that in this episode. So I just wanted to bring that up. I thought that was pretty cool. But in this episode, like I said, a lot of it deals with backburners. They're trying to set up a wiretap on Stringer Bell and his network, even though they're using burner phones now. Daniels is, of course, pissed off that McNulty went behind his back again. And he said that after this case, he has to go find a new unit to be in. So we'll see what happens. I don't know how it's going to turn out, but I'm thinking that he might maybe go back to Western with Colvin, assuming Colvin's still around, because his whole Hamsterdam project, which is working, and of course the detail learns about what's going on there this episode. He doesn't have permission to do that, of course, yet. And he's delaying till he tells the boss. And so McNulty agrees to cover for him. And I'm thinking that maybe since, Colvin owes him for that, he'll bring McNulty back to Western. I'm surprised he didn't go... Well, I guess I was going to say I'm surprised he didn't go to Western after he got kicked off of Homicide. But I remember that Rawls specifically assigned him to the boat as punishment for, not following orders, basically. So that makes sense. But regardless, we have that going on with the police in this episode. We have stuff going on with Stringer as well. So the girlfriend, Dee's ex-wife, girlfriend, whatever, told his mother that the police came and talked to her and said that Dee's death might not have been a suicide. And now she wants to go talk to the police. And of course, Stringer's very worried about this because he's the one who ordered Dee's death. And so he keeps trying to stop it from happening, but I think there's no real way for him to be able to tell her, don't go hear this information, because one, she wants to hear it, and then two, he'll look more suspicious if he tries to stop it. So I'm really curious what's going to happen when Avon hears this, because even though they had some problems, Avon really did, look to Dee, very close, their family, of course. And so this could be a rift between Stringer and Avon that might result in bloodshed. Who knows what'll happen, but I keep bringing it up. I think this is going to be a major problem for String, but we'll see where that goes. But beyond just that, we have something interesting happening in Hamsterdam. So they noticed that all the kids who the drug dealers were employing as lookouts and runners and all this stuff, because it's legal in Hamsterdam now, they don't need these kids anymore, so they cut them loose. And so all these kids are not going to school, obviously, because they got used to, cutting class and, working for drug dealers, but now they're just causing trouble. And it's a great metaphor for, the ecosystem when things change, some species get left behind. And so Herc tries to do something pretty interesting, which is he tries to collect money from the drug dealers and give it to the kids basically as unemployment insurance. So we're seeing again, as the drugs get legalized, these mechanisms which we see across all normal business also applies to these guys now, which is really interesting to see. Although there are definitely problems, Hamsterdam is not a perfect place for business. It's kind of become this Sodom and Gomorrah of degeneracy. There's all this destruction happening. Herc even bought a basketball hoop for the kids to play with, and then they just completely destroy it. So the Hamsterdam Project has its good points for the rest of Baltimore, but definitely in these neighborhoods it's still very much troublesome, which is, I guess that's a statement about drugs. Even if we legalized it, it would still have its problems. So we'll see where they go with this. But a lot of interesting stuff happening in this episode. And I'm really interested to see, now that the police know that Avon is out and they're pissed off about this, I'm really interested to see, how they handle this, and if they're going to maybe switch focus to Avon now, or just kind of keep going as they want it to go. So we'll see. But that is pretty much the episode. So thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll check out the next one soon.
What is up, Wire fans? Kino here. And as you can tell, things are a little bit different. I'm all moved into my new place, but things are not quite set up yet. But even still, I wanted to talk to you guys about another episode I just watched. The episode Moral Midgetry, which that's a funny title. But so in this episode, a number of things are happening. The Hamsterdam Project is going well. In the sense that it's reduced crime, and now the police are kind of aware, the higher-ups are aware of the reduced stats, although Colvin still hasn't told them what he's actually been doing yet. So they're kind of investigating, is this real, or is he fudging his numbers? And even Carcetti is starting to become aware of what's happening, and he's trying to look into where these numbers are actually at. But even though it's reducing the amount of crime overall, Hamsterdam is really a rough area. The people there are not living good lives. And so the deacon, who we met earlier this season when he was trying to help Cuddy get started on a new life, he turns out to be Colvin's friend. And they discuss ways on kind of improving life in Hamsterdam. So they get this nonprofit organization. I don't really know what they are. But they get them to provide, free condoms, free, testing, all this kind of stuff, food, water, all that, in order to kind of make this not so much of a slum. And so it's looking like, the first part of the plan was just to reduce crime, and that, that's all they cared about. But now they're looking at like tackling the issue on a deeper, more social level here. So again, it seems like a good thing. I'm wondering long term, like, is this going to blow up in anyone's faces or not, or will this manage to become, a way for, Baltimore to kind of heal itself is through, social programs like this and, different methods of policing. Because like they said, even though the cops were kind of complaining about, basically having to protect drug dealers now, they almost have to work for the drug dealers. They realized that their old methods of, busting heads wasn't working. Like, yeah, it was fun for them maybe, and maybe it made them feel better, but ultimately it wasn't really addressing the drug problem. They would just all go back to normal week after week. So this might be a change needed to get Baltimore better. So we'll see where that goes. And when I speak about this, I'm speaking in terms of the show. Like, obviously, I don't know the city. I've been told by many people that the show is a very accurate representation of Baltimore. So when I discuss these things, I'm only talking about them though in like the canon of the show. So when I say things like Baltimore needs to be fixed, I don't want to presume that since I don't actually live there. I've never been there. But I have been told that the show is very realistic in its portrayal of the problems that the city has. So just wanted to preface that. But we've got that going on one end. In addition, the police are also starting to investigate where these cell phones are coming from. And so they're able to track them down to the convenience stores that they're being bought from. Although they still don't have, the actual person buying it. They get a stroke of good luck in that, again, he bought too many phones at one place, and so the guy remembers him. They don't have security footage, although they try to get some help from the local police. And there's this really funny scene where McNulty's talking to the guy, and they're in Virginia because they go out of state to buy the phones. And McNulty's like basically pretending to be a racist because he thinks that like, this southern cop is going to be racist. But then his wife walks in, who's also black. And so he just kind of humiliated himself. Although they do get some more information about, where the drug dealers are buying their phones. And so maybe they're able to catch the guy buying them, and then maybe they'll be able to set up a wire that way. But beyond just that, we have some more stuff going on with McNulty and Kima. I don't remember if I talked about this last time or not, because I don't film these back to back. But I wanted to talk about that. Kima's been having relationship problems. Now that she's had her baby, there was a scene last episode where she kind of says that I didn't really want this. It's like you wanted it, and now she's kind of living a life she didn't actually want. And I just wanted to say that I love the portrayal of Kima, and I love the fact that a lot of TV shows like want to present gay couples or anyone who's not traditional in like this perfect light, or else they think they're kind of being insulting. But I really love that we have this lesbian couple here who has real human problems and has real relationship issues, and it's not afraid to show Kima as being neglectful or wrong, or she's kind of becoming like McNulty in a way. And I think that just makes her so much more realistic than a lot of media would portray her as. Like, she's perfect and she's incredible and her relationship's incredible, and we're so supportive. But again, The Wire likes to go more realistic and show that gay couples, like any other couple, have their problems. And I just really appreciated that portrayal of what she's going through. But beyond just that, we have some really important stuff going on with the drug dealers. So Stringer's continuing to try to go legit. He's making deals with senators and federal money coming in, all that kind of stuff, the wheeling and dealing. But Avon is still obsessed with the street, so he goes after Marlowe, who's really smart. He's able to figure out that it's a trap they're setting up to have him killed. Um, and so they end up like shooting up. I don't know what it was. I think maybe I don't know if it was like a grenade he shot into there or something. He shot like an explosive into the car, and he hit Avon, and so Avon's really injured now. Um, but again, he's all obsessed about the streets and respect and taking back their corners. But Stringer basically tells him like you're gonna fuck everything up here, and then he accuses Stringer of being weak and not focused on the street. And then Stringer drops the bomb, which is that he's the one who killed D'Angelo. Brianna went and talked to McNulty, so he kind of knew that this was coming. So he gets ahead of it and basically just straight up tells Avon, like, yeah, I killed him. I had to do it. He was going to rat on us. You didn't have, you were too blinded by the family aspect that, you weren't able to take care of this, so I did it. And they kind of get into a little bit of a fight, but at the end, I think Avon's actually going to accept it. I think he realizes the truth in what Stringer's saying. And like I said, I was wrong. I thought, this was going to be a rift between them. I mean, maybe it will be, but I'm thinking that he'll realize that D'Angelo, was a risk, a threat to them, and it was the right thing to get rid of him. So, again, pretty interesting strategy on String's part to, just straight up tell him, like, this is what I had to do. I wonder if he's ever going to reveal all the other stuff he did behind Avon's back with, like, hitting, Brother Mouzone, and he did tell him he was working with Prop Joe, so I guess maybe there's not as many secrets as I thought between them, but they definitely are at odds. Like, they are not aligned like they used to be. Like, Stringer wants one thing, Avon wants something else, and I do think it's going to come to a head between the two of them. Like, I don't think there can be two guys at the top anymore. Even though Avon's technically the king, I think Stringer I think Stringer's going to get tired of, dealing with this bullshit when he wants to go legit. So I think there's going to be problems still, but we'll see where that goes. But yeah, that is pretty much the episode. Thank you guys for watching, and hopefully the normal setup will be back soon. So thanks.
All right, what is up, Wire fans? Kino here. I know I've been all over the place with these different camera angles and positions and stuff like that. But like I said in the last one, I've been moving, and so constantly like adjusting things, changing, where everything is arranged. So please excuse that, but we're back with another episode. This time we're looking at the episode Slapstick. I forget which number we're on. But this episode, I mean, the major thing that happens that I want to talk about first is, of course, Prez. So he accidentally shoots a plainclothes officer. He has a gun. He thinks he's a criminal. And he shoots him. It turns out he's a cop, which is just tragic. Like, killing someone, even someone who's like a criminal, that can't feel good at all. But killing someone who, was on your team and you didn't even realize it, like, God, I couldn't even imagine what that feels like. But of course, this is a problem on multiple levels. Like, one, he killed a fellow cop, which, he had probable cause in the sense that he had a gun. I'm not sure if maybe they'll get him on the fact that he didn't yell out, like, police and drop your weapon or, whatever he's supposed to. He just shot. I'm thinking he might have been able to do that because the guy had a gun, but again, he might have messed up in that regard. But even putting that aside, there's this obvious angle that the cop that he killed was black and he's white, which definitely this is one of those elements that has gotten more relevant over time, even from when this originally came out. But yeah, so he's really broken up about this. He's obviously off the detail while they investigate this. And, he's even talking like he's done with the police and he might even be talking suicide. So, obviously in a really bad spot. And it was really shocking. It came out of nowhere. Prez, he started out as an idiot who I would have expected something like this from, but he'd become a good cop over the course of the last 2 seasons, and it's just kind of came out of nowhere, and seems like just a random kind of tragedy that just happened to befall them. If he hadn't gone out for Chinese that day, he wouldn't have gotten into this issue. So again, I really like that the show deals with real life elements like this, in terms of like things just happen out of nowhere. You're not always expecting them. And I think the show really addresses that kind of a lot of TV, like things always seem kind of planned out and always happening for a reason. Whereas, in this show, things just happen just like real life. So that's obviously the element that stood out to me the most. And excuse me for my hair. I know I look like a mess. But beyond just that, we've got some other things happening. So some of Avon's guys are waiting for Omar, and they find him at his grandmother's house. But there's this long-standing like Baltimore tradition among the drug dealers where there's a truce on Sunday mornings. They all go to church, or at least many of them do. Their families go to church, and that's always just been off limits. Like, you don't go after family. And so there's like a miscommunication where Stringer gives the okay to shoot, Omar while he's with his grandma, and then they end up like shooting the hat off this old lady. So definitely like humorous in the sense that like this is so stupid, but again, a very big no-no in terms of like, don't go after family, don't, violate the sacredness of church. And so Omar's very pissed off about this, and he's going to go after the Barksdale crew again. He'd kind of decided to stop based on all the stuff that had happened, getting that girl Tasha killed. But now he's like, no, these guys got to go. So the war is back on. And again, I'm not sure. Stringer was saying that like he wasn't aware that the grandma was there, which I guess was true, but it also just seemed like he seems like the kind of person who just doesn't care about Sunday truce and all this sacred stuff. He's all about business. That was the whole reason why he killed Dee. And there's this great scene where he, Avon, and Brianna are talking about Dee's death. And Avon is like, he's I think he's decided that Stringer was right to do what he did. But he doesn't really want to face it, and that's why he's got his like head buried down. He's not talking while they're talking about Dee's suicide. So he's definitely Avon's the more like emotional one of the two. Like he's all about family and about the old school street life. Stringer's like cold-blooded business type. And so, like I said, even though they've kind of worked things out temporarily, I do see some issues with their clashing ideals, especially when it comes to Marlowe, too. Like in this episode, they're inviting Marlowe to join the co-op with all the drug dealers, because, again, the other drug dealers don't want Avon going to war because it's affecting their business. So, yeah, I think that all of this is going to result in a conflict. But we got three people: Stringer, Avon, and Marlowe, who are all kind of coming to a head. And now you throw Omar into the mix. There's going to be some bloodshed before the end of this season. But beyond just that, we've got some stuff going on in Hamsterdam. They find a dead body that's been shot, and Carver tries to move the body to get it out of Hamsterdam so the cops don't realize what's going on. But of course, the cops realize what's happening, and so. He has to bring the shooter to the cop in like 24 hours or he's going to go to the brass. And he goes to the drug dealers and tells them like, hey, we're going to shut Hamsterdam unless you hand over your guy. And so they agree to do it. So again, we're seeing a very new dynamic between the drug dealers and the police where they're working together to kind of keep their community safe. So that was interesting to see. But beyond just that, we have Herc. He's fed up with all this bullshit. A lot of these street level cops, they hate the idea of Hamsterdam. They hate helping drug dealers. Like they came up with this idea that like we beat these criminals down, even though it's not effective. Like they find it insulting to be like basically helping drug dealers. So he calls the Baltimore Sun, and he gets a hold of the number of the reporters. So I think he's going to tell them what's going on, and they're going to spill the beans. And we'll see where that leaves Bunny, because he's not told the brass what's going on yet. Will they be open to it, or will they not? That's really up for to see what happens. But yeah, those are the main things going on this episode. Really great one. I'm getting into this season a lot, and I can't wait to watch the next one soon. So thank you guys for watching, and we'll check out the next one soon. Thanks. All right, we're back with another episode. We're looking at the episode Reformation. It's the same day. I've gotten into these episodes lately, and I kind of feel like I'm going to finish out the season either tonight or tomorrow. But these episodes are getting really good. A lot of interesting stuff is happening. And this episode's title, Reformation, I think it's very like evocative of the whole season. Like, a lot of the characters are trying to make changes. We've got Stringer Bell trying to, make changes in the drug game. We've got Colvin trying to make changes with the police. We have people like Cuddy and these other kind of civic leaders trying to make changes in Hamsterdam. So we can see that, like, a lot of the characters are dissatisfied with the way things are, and they're trying to change things up for the better. Although if that will work out is left to be seen. And excuse me, you might hear a little bit of whirring in the background. That's my computer, but hopefully it's not too annoying. So the main thing that the big reveal that happened in this episode is, of course, Colvin finally revealing to the police, what he's been doing with Hamsterdam. So they react very negatively, as of course they would. He's essentially legalized drugs, which, the police are not just allowed to stop enforcing laws. And he agrees to take the fall if it comes to that, but he shows them that, like, hey, this is working. Like, the community is a lot healthier because of this. And Burrell's even starts to kind of, he's pissed off because he's going to get in trouble with the mayor, which he does. But even he's like, maybe we can sell this in a way that actually works. And even the mayor was kind of briefly considering it. So I kind of have a feeling that they're going to decide to just run with this and pretend like it was the plan the whole time. Because, one, they don't want to look foolish. Like the mayor says, not knowing that this was happening is worse than kind of it being like a pre-planned thing. So they might choose to just run with this, or this might be the thing that kind of gets Carcetti to maybe he uses it to take over and become mayor. We'll see what happens, but we've got stuff going on with him as well. But before I leave the police stuff, I just wanted to also comment on this really brilliant speech that Colvin gives Carver. He tells him that, like, you're smart, but you're not really good police, because police isn't about being a soldier. It's not about just destroying your enemies. It's about helping your community. And as we've seen, like, the war on drugs has transformed the police into being like, they don't really care about helping the community. They're all about just like getting their numbers, taking down drug dealers, beating them down. And they've come to almost view their community as like the enemy, which I think is very poignant. I think it touches on, again, like I said, some really important things that are still true even to this day with our police force. And I agree with Colvin that, like, the ultimate purpose of the police is to help, their community and to help them, heal and, divisions of help. So, like, heal the divisions. It's not about necessarily just beating people down. I know you have to sometimes. And a lot of these drug dealers are, very bad people that need to get taken down. But at the same time, you have to know the community, you have to work with them. It has to be kind of a group effort. I think that's the overall point of this season. So we'll see where that goes, but I just wanted to say that I thought that speech was really important. But beyond just that, we've got stuff with Carcetti. He's feeling guilty because he's essentially kind of betraying his friend Gray on the city council. He announced that he's going to run for mayor, but Carcetti, hasn't told him that, he's running for mayor. And he feels like a scumbag, which he is, for kind of using his friend like that and not being straight with him. But he's like, he needs Gray in the race to siphon off votes from Royce. But he's scared that if he tells him the truth, he won't run. So yeah, it's a weird place to be, and that's why I don't know. I don't think I could ever be involved with politics. It's just like, or any kind of like, when you're in a position of power, you have to do things to kind of keep your power. We've seen that throughout all of history. And that's just not a really healthy way that I think to live. Even if he gets mayor and whatever, like, is it worth losing a friend? I mean, maybe, but I wouldn't want to be in that position where I have to make that choice. But we'll see. I mean, he seems like he's willing to do that. He's ambitious and he wants it. And so, I think he's going to make the choice of power over friendship, which we see happening with a lot of characters. Stringer Bell in this episode too. Prop Joe's guys threatened to cut the Barksdale crew off if he continues this war with Marlowe, and Avon, how he is. He's all determined to take Marlowe down. So Stringer finally takes an action against Avon, and he calls the police. Really strange. He reports, what's going on to the police, and so the police now know where Avon's at. I don't know where that's going to lead specifically, if that's going to basically lead to his arrest. Really interesting strategy on Stringer's part. He doesn't want Avon around anymore because he's going to ruin their, financial situation with this war. And rather than like take him out like he did with D, he's decided to rat him out. So man, Stringer is definitely, just like Avon said, he's not in tune with like the street values at all. Like all he thinks about is business, and maybe it's gonna work out for him. But I don't know. He's taking all these like really bad actions. I think they're gonna come back to haunt him eventually. But regardless of that, we've got some other interesting stuff. Brother Muzone is back. Again, I keep forgetting if I'm pronouncing his name right, but he is looking for Omar. Omar's the one who shot him, and I don't know whether he's going to get revenge on Omar or if he's just trying to get information on, like, was it Barksdale that kind of ordered his, set him up to get shot. And so at the end of the episode, he kidnaps Omar's boyfriend, and how protective Omar is of, his lovers. So that's going to be a problem. They're going to come to a head. Meanwhile, Omar's going after the Barksdale crew, so everyone's going after each other. That's just kind of how it is. Beyond just that, the last things that were happening in this episode were the police they have this plan to sell cell phones to the guy who buys the phones for the Barksdale crew. Basically, it takes too long for them to get a wiretap up. They dump the phones too quickly. And so their plan is to sell them pre-bugged phones, which is really brilliant, and it looks like it's working. Again, his girlfriend is just constantly like getting him into trouble. Like, man, women, right? You can't live with them, can't live without them. But so they set him up. We'll see where that goes next episode. But the other interesting thing that happened was McNulty saw a police car drive by, and it looked like it was Beatty, the girl from the second season, the new cop they had, and he really wanted to see her. And so I'm wondering, like, he talked in this episode about the fact that Teresa kind of looks down on him, the campaign manager, because he's not basically smart. He's like just a dumb cop. And so I think he's remembering the kind of like flirtations he had with Beatty, and the fact that she kind of understood where he's at because she's a cop too. And I think maybe he's yearning for her. So I think maybe that will be his, his true, love, so to speak, because it didn't work out with his ex-wife. It's probably not going to work out with this girl. Like she's kind of just on a different wavelength than he is. And so Yeah, it's interesting to see where his love life's going to go because, like I said, he's had trouble finding someone who kind of matches with his intense personality. Kind of the only woman who really understands him is Kima, and of course, she's a lesbian, so that's not going to work out for them. Even if she was straight, it probably wouldn't work out because it's McNulty. But yeah, it's interesting to see where his love life's going to go. I think it's going to be an interesting storyline. But that is pretty much the episode. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll check out the next one soon. See ya. What the fuck? Oh my god, they killed Stringer. We're looking at the episode Middle Ground, which, oh my fucking god. That did not go at all how I thought it was going to go. So in this episode, Stringer learns that basically he's been burned by Clay Davis. Like, Clay Davis was never going to help him with anything. He basically wasted $250,000 paying this guy. And it was just like a scam for him. He can't facilitate getting the federal grant money. So Stringer's pissed off. He wants Clay Davis killed, which even Avon is like, that's insane. We're not doing that. And so, he's burned on that, but then two, he's also wanting to, get rid of Avon. So he, informs on Avon to, Colvin, and gives him his location so he can basically get him to go back to jail. And so, the war with Marlowe will be averted and that, their deal with Prop Joe won't go away. So he's got that treason going on. But Brother Muzone comes back. At the beginning of the episode, he meets with Omar, and it's really cool, this kind of standoff that they have. But beyond just that, Muzone goes to Avon, is like, hey, you owe me. Your guy betrayed me. You gotta give him up. And so Avon gives up Stringer to kind of maintain his code of honor and keep his dealings with New York. And so there's this great scene at the end where they're both drinking and they both know that they betrayed each other. And it just really highlights their differences, is that like Stringer is so business focused. But ultimately Avon gives up his location and they kill him. And this great imagery at the end where it pans from his dead body to Stringer's sign for his business. It's a great visual metaphor for like, he tried to go legit, but he just wasn't able to escape this. And yeah, like I was saying, this did not go the way that I thought it was going to go at all. Like, I thought Stringer was going to end up on top. I don't know. I'm used to shows that like the intellectual, like ruthless side always usually wins. I'm kind of thinking like Breaking Bad. Like, he reminded me a lot of Gus Fring, who's very business focused, but, I know Gus technically loses in that show too, spoiler alert, but I was just thinking that he would prevail, like he would get rid of Avon, and it would show that like ruthless, cold business logic beats out, the street logic, and he would get it later on. But man, this just came out of nowhere, and it's very surprising. I don't know how to feel about it yet. I literally just watched it, and yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I just thought it would go differently, but again, this show's all about kind of defying expectations and not playing into specific tropes and things like that. It's more like real life. So I'll need time to think about Stringer's story overall and where he what his story was about. But man, just what an exciting episode. I'm definitely gonna watch the next one after this. I'm trying to remember what happens in this episode besides that. It's like hard for me. Besides, the police just managed to get a hold of his phone number, and they just managed to wiretap his phone, and now he's gone. So yeah, we're seeing all their wasted effort. Beyond just that, though, McNulty has like a confrontation with Teresa. Like, she calls him out to apologize for the way she acted, and it's like, oh, they might get back together. but then he realizes she just wants information about what's going on with the Hamsterdam project. And so he kind of leaves disgusted that she would just, one, like, she doesn't care about him at all. Like, she's just in it for, like, the politics. But then two, I think it was that, I don't know, like, she was just, I don't know, she was willing to, like, use him. Like, she obviously doesn't, like, care about him in any kind of way. So, yeah, he's definitely not interested in her. And like I said, maybe he might be interested in that female cop from season 2. We'll see if she comes back or not. But, yeah, really interesting episode. I'm trying to think of what else happens. I know Bubbles gets a new little sidekick now that his old sidekick, I don't remember his name, he's basically like a full-on drug addict, not doing anything. Yeah, I can't think of too much else. Like, that ending literally is just all I can think about right now. But yeah, I mean, we'll see where it goes with the Hamsterdam thing, because the mayor is looking to see if he can spin it in a positive light and use it somehow. And then Carcetti knows about it too now. He's talking with Colvin about what's going on. So I think everyone's going to try to use the Hamsterdam project for their own benefit. Again, I love Colvin so much. He just has like the best like speeches throughout the whole show. Like, I love any time he's talking. But he has this great little speech where he's talking about this old man back in the 60s or whatever who ran this funeral parlor, and he was like a racist. He's like, I respect that racist old man because at least with him I knew where I stood. And he's talking to Carcetti, and obviously again, Carcetti's like a lot of these politicians who are like, no, we're with you, we believe in this cause, we're united, but they're after their own interest. And Colvin's like, even with an old racist man, at least I knew where I stood with him. And like, he was direct with a lot of these characters. They don't really say what they mean. They're just like lying and trying to get something. So God, I wonder what's going to happen with Avon now, because the police now know about his war headquarters. So I'm thinking they might take him down. And then with Stringer gone and with Avon gone, it's just Marlowe left. Then there's Prop Joe and those guys, but they seem like they're not like fighters anymore. I think Marlowe could like rise to the top by just, surviving and, playing the game. So we'll see where they go. But man, if this Barksdale organization gets taken down, I don't know. That's the whole show for me. I'm like, who's left to pick up the pieces? But I don't know. We'll see where it goes. But anyway, thanks for watching. And like I said, I'm going to watch another one here. I guarantee it. So I'll record that soon. All right, we're back with the season 3 finale, Mission Accomplished. Very ironic title because basically no missions were accomplished. Yes, at the end of this episode, they get Avon in his parole violation. He will, even, if they don't get him on any new crimes, he's going to do the rest of his 7 years. So it seems like mission accomplished. Stringer Bell's dead. But it doesn't feel like it. Again, at the end of every season, it always feels like they never managed to actually do what they set out to do. Although there is a connection between the end of season 2 and this one. So, we'll talk about that in a bit, but let's just go through the episode. So, first things, so many things happen in this episode. It's hard to know where to start, but, basically Colvin got screwed. The brass basically are demoting him to a lieutenant, so much lower retirement pay than he was expecting. And they're like, if he makes any trouble, they're gonna mess up his guys. So he's basically just forced to deal with this, which sucks for him because again, he was doing the right thing. But again, as we've seen time and time again on this show, doing the right thing is bad for your personal career. That's just how it is in this show and maybe in real life too. So they place most of the blame on him. The newspapers get a hold of the story and they reveal what happened. The mayor looks really bad because of this. Carcetti, who is actually kind of in favor of the plan, jumps on the bandwagon and attacks the mayor. He gives this great public speech at the end about abandoning West Baltimore. And his friend finally realizes that he's running for mayor, so he feels betrayed, which he should be. I mean, he was basically lying to him this whole time. Carcetti's officially begun his run for mayor. We'll see how he does in the next season. That's what's kind of happening on the politics side. And also, Daniels' wife is getting the endorsement from the mayor. And so she doesn't need Daniels anymore, so he's free to be with Perlman. So they're together now officially, I guess, out in public. There was this really weird scene towards the end where he's having sex with Perlman and it keeps cutting back and forth to Cuddy. I didn't really understand that. Like, I guess he's pounding the sandbag and he's pounding her, but the Cuddy and her and Daniels and Perlman don't really have any kind of connection to each other. I don't really understand what that symbolism was going for there, but I don't know. Maybe they just thought it was hot or something. I don't know. Speaking of sex scenes, we got another one with Kima. So she is cheating on her wife, partner, or whatever they are, and McNulty's covering for her, like he said, like Bunk used to do for him. So again, we're seeing that friendship between McNulty and Kima, but Kima's kind of going down the dark path. She's kind of becoming more like McNulty, which is, again, I said before, very realistic to show that, gay people, again, sorry about the computer, but gay people, just like straight people, have relationship problems. They have all this kind of stuff. They cheat, whatever. They're just like everyone else. So great characterization on her part. But McNulty, of all people, kind of turns around at the end here. He realizes that it's something Lester said to him, which is that, like, life is what happens when you're waiting for things that are never going to come. And he finally realizes that because Stringer's dead, like, he's just been devoted to the hunt this whole time. And he has really nothing in his life. And he starts a relationship with Beatty, like I thought he would. So it's great to see them together. They're so cute. And I really hope it works out for them because, she is a good person. He is becoming a better person. He was kind of a piece of shit these whole few seasons, but he's finally starting to realize I need to be a better person and find happiness. So that's what's going on there. Like I said, Stringer got arrested because of no, it's not Stringer. Sorry, Avon got arrested because of Stringer's information, and he knows Stringer betrayed him now, although he's dead. So again, the Barksdale organization kind of destroyed itself. And now Marlowe's left to just basically run shit from now on. So we're gonna see where he goes from now on. He's got the corners now that Hamsterdam's been destroyed, which is so sad because it was making a real difference in the city. But again, it's all about politics. There's even this great little line at the end where Bareilles is like, not everything's about politics. And then he misses his shot, his golf putting thing, which is about everything is about politics. That's what that meant. It's gone, and this great project that helped Baltimore is destroyed. And we're going to see how Marlowe runs things from now on because he's now the king on top. Although Slim Charles is still around, so we'll see how he reacts. Bodie's still around. When I saw Bodie at the end, I'm wondering if he'll, kind of end up on top here because there was a scene in season 1 where he was talking about, they were talking about chess, and it's like, he's like a pawn, and the pawn's the lowest piece. And he's like, yeah, but if the pawn survives till the end, he's the man, right? Or something like that. So I'm wondering if he'll just manage to survive till the end, and then he'll be the king. But we'll see where they go with that. Great song sequence at the end. McNulty, just like Santangelo. Santangelo this season appeared and he was like, I'm happier than ever, like being just a normal street cop. Like 9 to 5, you don't have to do anything crazy. You're not killing yourself over the job. And so McNulty's kind of found happiness just being a beat cop. But knowing McNulty, I think he's still going to be involved in some shit. The major crime unit's still around. Prez isn't there, which is sad. We keep losing people. Carver is... I think he wants to be better police than he's been. So, I think he's going to, basically step up and start helping the community. Herc. I don't know what's going on with him. A lot of these people don't really have, like, straight arcs. Which, again, it's just like real life. People don't really have arcs. There was a scene even earlier in the season where he didn't even remember Avon Barksdale's name. So, again, these are not... Even though we're seeing these events and we're like, oh, my God, we're so invested, the characters are just living their lives. Like, they forget things, they miss things, and, it's just very realistic. So, I'm really sad the season is over. It was so good. Oh, I forgot. The last thing was, I was talking about the connection between season 2 and this. At the end, we see the re-elect Frank Sabatka sign. So, I wonder if that's a subtle hint that season 4 might involve the dock workers some more, because that's the first we've heard of the Sabatka thing. I mean, Daniels mentioned the how the FBI kind of screwed him because of a leak, so I'm wondering if that will come back too. But regardless, I would love to see how season 2 connects back, because like I said, people on the season 2 reaction video were mentioning how season 2 is really great. And maybe I need to see the next 2 seasons to really understand that. But when I was saying it was kind of disappointing, it wasn't that the plotline was boring or anything. I really like the themes of, like, America and, like, our decline and all that kind of stuff, the working decline. I love those kind of themes. I love the Sabatkas. They were great characters. But why I felt it was a little disappointing at the time, and I think why people feel that way about the season, is it didn't really feel like it connected to any pre-existing storylines or character development. Like I said, McNulty at the end of this season has changed because of the result of what he went through this season, and it just didn't feel that way in season 2. Like, it just happened. And again, like, I know it's more realistic, it's more like real life. People aren't always on, like, arcs, but this is a story after all. But again, people in the comments said really great things about season 2. Like, once I watch the end of it, I'll understand it more. So we'll see how that goes. But really great season. Even my fiance is starting to get into the show. She's watching it with me. She does not like crime or gangster shows like this. She doesn't like violence, but even she's like, "Who's that? What's going on here?" It's an interesting show to watch, and I cannot wait to watch more. I'm going to take a little break here, recuperate, really kind of try to understand everything I've seen, and man, I cannot wait to get started on season 4. So thank you guys. I'll talk to you then. Bye. Life's what happens when you're waiting for patrons that will never come. Tommy Smith, Abdallah Alamari, Russell, Sean, Graham, Heart of Markness, Broccoli, Placenta Juan, Logan, Clean, John Reyna, Jesse Sterling, Andrew Stewart, Obscuracing Media, Daz J. Kit, Conan Higgins, Irish Nachos, Sharose, Greg Penna, Stephen Lillard, Rex Lee, Sam Cedarlin, Sandy Wren, and Don Lucania.